YouTube friends, I'm Heidi Villegas with Healing Harvest Homestead, and in this video we're going to talk about how to dry your herbs. So I am an herbalist and I make an awful lot of tea blends and tinctures and infused oils and things, mostly with herbs I grow myself. So that requires me to know how to dry them. So we're going to go ahead and talk about how to dry different kinds of herbs. So first off, there's your leafy herbs, like this lemon balm or like this comfrey. And my favorite way, to be honest, of drying the leafier herbs and the herbs that don't have dropping parts, like I don't have any herbs up here with terrible dropping parts right now, but generally speaking, leaves I love to just hang to dry. Okay, so I gather them up and loose little bit here. These are comfrey leaves, and what I do is I wrap a rubber band around the stems like this, and then so I have nails in my wall here that you can't really see, but I just hang my plants to dry. Now these are all from today, and you can already see how wilted this is becoming, and this is marshmallow leaf right here, but all of these plants will dry within at least a week or so. So that's really my favorite way of drying most of my plants, to be honest, is just to rubber band them up and hang them up to dry. Over here I've got lavender and I've got yarrow. Now these are flowers that I really love to preserve and harvest, and those are flowers I like to hang to dry too. However, other flowers I don't do that with. So let's talk about two different kinds of flowers. There's chamomile, and with chamomile I actually like to hang the chamomile inside a brown bag, and then I just wrap it up like I just did with these, and I hang that. The reason I do that is because the chamomile flowers will often drop their petals separately, and you want the flower part of the chamomile. And so what happens is, as they release the flowers fall into the bag, and now you've got your chamomile. Another way I also dry chamomile is just to lay them out on a towel on my tabletop, and then I just shake the towel into a jar, and I've got beautiful chamomile flowers. Now let's talk about calendula for a moment, or hops. These are different kinds of flowers. They're little, calendula especially is a very juicy flower. Hops can be a little bit juicy. I want to just show you this. I'm just loving my hops this year. I make herbal beers too, and hops are really wonderful for a lot of different reasons medicinally, but that's not the topic of this video. So I'll keep talking about the drying the hops and the calendula. With hops and calendula, I actually like to lay them out, especially the calendula, on a screen or on a towel if it's a non-humid place, which we live in a drier area here in Idaho. And I just let them air dry, and they dry, and then I put them in a bottle or a jar, and we're good to go. And you might be wondering, like with the comfrey leaves, you'll know that they're dry when they crumble easily. And at that point, you can just crumble them into your jars and keep them and store them that way. Okay, so really fast, let's talk about fruits and seeds. So a lot of times your seeds are already dry. You don't really need to do a whole lot with them. Like yellow dock, you can just scrape the yellow dock seeds right from the plant, stick them in a jar, and you've got them, or grind them up for your flour, or however you want to use them. Rose hips, which is a fruit, I like to just pick them right off the plant, and I generally tend to use them fresh, but if I want them dried, I just allow them to dry, and then I crush them and use them that way. Now, some fruits like rose hips, they actually have little hairs inside of them. Some people prefer to very painstakingly pick out the seeds and hairs and like scoop them out, and I don't do that because they don't bother me personally, so I don't worry about that. But that's just something to know about rose hips. Berries like hawthorn berries, which we have a few hawthorn trees on the property, they have 1 to maybe 3 or 4 seeds inside of them, and some people don't like to deal with the seeds either, but they don't bother me, so that's just a personal preference. Same with elderberries. Elderberries are great. Once you dehydrate them, you can just grind them up and don't worry about the seeds. They're just fine. All right, so far we've talked about how to dry leaves, how to dry flowers of different kinds, and we've talked about how to dry fruits. So finally, let's go ahead and talk about how to dry roots. So roots are another category altogether. And what I like to do with roots, like let's just use dandelion root as an example. You dig it up in whatever season is best for that plant. And if you're wondering when to harvest plant parts, I did a YouTube video on that too. I'll link to it above. It's good to know just general information and then do a little research on the plants. But in terms of roots, I like to dig them up, clean them off really well with a scraper and hose them down. And then what I do is I cut them into the size pieces I want. So for dandelion, I like the pieces pretty small because I can roast them and use them for coffee or add them to different preparations. And then I dehydrate them at that point. I just lay them out on a flat screen and let them dry. And that's all I do with my roots. Other roots, you can actually maybe not cut them at quite as small. And you know, do a little research on your roots, but generally speaking, it's best to get them cut before you dry them, because once they're dried, they are really hard. It's very, very hard to cut them. And if you want to powder them down, you want them in small bits, or your spice grinder is just gonna take a beating, okay? I hope you enjoyed this video on how to dehydrate or dry your herbal parts. We talked about leaves, flowers, fruits, and roots, and I hope you got a good idea of what to do with each of them. It's really quite easy. There's not a lot to worry about. You just go ahead and choose your method and go for it. If you have any questions, you're welcome to reach out to me. You can join my newsletter by getting your free herbal remedy guide below. I'd love to have you receive my weekly notes where I give other tips that aren't found on YouTube or on my website. And I love my newsletter, people. It's like talking to friends. All right, I'm Heidi Villegas with Healing Harvest Homestead. Please subscribe to my channel. And if you want to learn herbalism, I hope you pick me as your mentor and teacher, because I just love it. And we need it more than ever these days. All right, I'm going to sign off. Have a really great day. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it, right? All right, I'll talk with you guys later. Bye-bye.